It's time for Twig this week in Google. Gina Trapani's in China, but Jeff Jarvis and Kevin Marks are here to talk about the latest from Google+. A visit from Bill Gross as well. I'm looking forward to that from Idea Lab and Uber Media. And we'll look at the scandal in Britain over the news of the world and Rupert Murdoch. It's all coming up next on This Week in Google.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 103, recorded July 13th, 2011. Honor and Offer. This Week in Google is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TWIG7. And by Carbonite. Backing up the files on your PC or Mac is safe and easy with Carbonite. For a free trial plus 2 free months with purchase, go to Carbonite.com. Offer code TWIG. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Gina Trapani is in China right now, which is very cool. But here's some good news. Jeff Jarvis is here. He's not in his home territory, though. He's on our coast, west coast out here. Where are you,
I'm at
Jeff?
the headquarters for Idea Lab, creator of about 100 companies. It's a wonderful place. The space is great. Bill Gross is the head. He may pop in if he can free himself up. But they create all kinds of great companies here and have over the years.
I love him.
He's great.
He created one of the very first incubator companies. Just fantastic. Also joining us right now, Kevin Marks.
Hi there.
Very
also in Silicon Valley.
As always, to have on this show. Kevin is now at Salesforce, but he has worked at the Google as well as Apple, British Telecom, and I'm sure I'm leaving many companies out.
Technorati, there's big chunk of time.
Technorati.
Let's not forget that. Well,
I always forget
what the
that.
hell ever that's like, that old game show question, dead or Canadian?
Yeah. I got one of each in here. So, whatever happened to Technorati?
They changed. They pivoted, as we call it now. They're an ad network now. They dropped the number of blogs they're indexing from 100 million to 100,000,
right,
and focused on building out an ad network, which is working and making the money. But it isn't the company that it was when I was there.
I remember going to Blog World, and they were handing out your Technorati ranking on your on a name badge, which I thought was very cool.
Oh, I should apologize for that. I've realized how pernicious all these rankings are. We can look at the Google Plus ranking stuff that's going on.
Yeah, well, as long as we're talking ranking, the rankings changed dramatically this morning, and somehow I came out in a virtual heat for second with Robert Scoble, but that's only because the real key guys opted out. Now, this isn't official. If you have to go to a site called socialstatistics.com, but apparently these are the same people who do the Twitter counter, and they scrape Google Plus to get the rankings. You have to add your Google Plus account by number to their database. Previously, Mark Zuckerberg was number one with well over 110,000 people following him on Google Plus. He's disappeared along with Larry, Sergey, and Vic Gondrotra. They're all gone. But I want to thank them because it means that me and Robert can be right up there at the top along with Kevin, Rose, Felicia Day. Tom Anderson, he's not opting out, former founder of MySpace, who says he's enjoying being retired. He actually is one of the most interesting people to follow.
He really is. I've been amazed, and he's been very. He comes in and leaves very good comments, and Tom has been kind of good. I wish if he'd been a real friend back at MySpace, maybe I'd still be there.
He was everybody's friend. He was the guy you all when you joined MySpace. He's the guy who was like looking like this at a whiteboard, and that's still his picture, by the way. On I love it that he uses the same picture on Google Plus of the guy looking up the whiteboard. For all we know, he looks nothing like this,
Well, didn't he lie about his age on MySpace as well?
Did he really? Oh, that's
he deducted 10 years from his age so he could stay youthful.
Now we don't know what happened, but Slashdot said, "Oh, Mark Zuckerberg pulled his account," but I went and checked. His account is still there,
still as blank as ever,
and still followed by, we presume, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more, because It looks like Google Plus now has opened up invitations, and there are lots of people in there.
Yes.
I've now given up. I was going through everybody who followed me so I could find friends. I've given up now.
Oh, you can't.
I can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
You're followed by 16,000 people. I mean, that's, it's impossible.
Yeah, well, it did the same with Twitter. I turned those notifications off on Twitter a while back.
Yeah, you don't. That's not. I like the asymmetric following model that Twitter and Google Plus use, as opposed to the symmetric following model that Facebook uses. You follow everybody who follows you on Facebook.
Right.
Although there might be some changes to the way circles work, if we're to believe Vic, who posted on Google Plus. Let us know what changes you want to make, and he allowed people to vote up and down on the changes. And the top +1 changes all involve kind of modifications to circles, including some I think some really useful modifications to circles. This is not going to be the Google Plus show, don't worry, folks, but we do have to talk about it because it is taken off.
Plus, I met with Bradley this week.
Oh, good. It
I was
seems
up
to
at
be
Google giving a privacy talk.
It seems to be moving faster than any social network in living memory, except maybe
It's really
Facebook.
amazing. And they're very open. There were some things that he asked me about that were, under the NDA because he just wanted to get some response just to some things that, without letting know what they're talking about. The things that I hit him up for, I said the problem to the raking of cron with the comments, I said my solution is just give me the separate feed of latest posts. And until you have that, by the way, it's not going to be very good for news. And he said, I don't know if I believe him or not, but he said, oh, I hadn't heard that idea before. It's a good idea. So maybe we can get that. I also pushed for the idea of more links, ability to put more than one link in a post, that otherwise it's kind of irresponsible in the blog world not to do that. And then third, I begged him to support the standards that are starting to come out there now, things like the hashtag. And by support, I mean put it in search and fill in hashtags and do all the.
Well, search on Google Plus would be nice to start with, and a hashtag.
Yeah, that'd be nice to start with. Yeah.
It's kind of a specialized form of search, kind of a pre-populated search.
Abandoning the Twitter search was also a shame. Basically,
the real-time search. You mean
the real-time search has gone away from there, and that and. The story was that Google and Twitter hadn't managed to renew their Firehose agreement, but it wasn't very clear of who decided not to renew it and where that went. But that means they pulled the real-time search just when you would need it for Plus, which is kind of a shame.
Well, you might think that Plus will end up taking Twitter's place as it grows.
Yeah, but the point of real-time search was that it was searching more than just Twitter. It's
right.
Just, Twitter was the bulk of it because it has more public stuff.
Yeah, because actually I think, Leo, and I'm here, full disclosure, at Idea Lab, where they have Uber Media, and I am a nano, micro, little tiny investor in that. But as I was thinking about it before I got here, I kind of realized that we actually now have something that I'm calling the Tchotchke cloud. Right? Is that Twitter used to own that. Twitter was the only one where we made tchotchkes. Everything else was something else. And then Google Plus changes that overnight. And now you have, little tiny posts. And then I guess I would now throw Tumblr into this. And the interesting thing is, what can you do across that world?
Right.
Right? And that's why I wish that they would support the hashtag, because then you can start to see what people are saying about, news of the world across Google Plus and Twitter and Tumblr and so on. And each one can still be its own service with its own pluses and minuses and its own differences. And you can choose to be which ones you want to be in. But when you want to find news of the world news, I really want to be able to, and not get the noise the pure search would give me. I want the hashtag. So those kinds of conventions, Google, I think, needs to support. You're right, Leo, search is the first thing, but then enable it in new ways.
Is there any reason to think that, look at it's week 2, kids.
Yeah.
Is there any reason to think that the Google won't add all of these obvious features?
Oh yeah, I think that they're working like crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure they'll want to do that. I mean, but the challenge is with all of this stuff is how the stuff is connected, and it's interesting to see that there is a similar flood problems that we had on Friendfeed and on Bars on Plus, which is that if Leo or Scoble or someone with many followers turns up in a post, suddenly you're swamped with everyone else's comments. And that's the piece that Twitter got right through not actually having a threaded comment thing, but also having a much less explicit conversation. It has this notion of overlapping publics. And the decision they made with the at replies to only show the at replies to people you're already following, I think was actually one of those critical ones that we complained about at the time. It was actually very wise in retrospect. Because what it means is by default, your feed is only showing the conversations between people that you already know, which dampens down that flood of followers effect. And it's tricky enough when it's Leo or Scoble with 20,000 followers, but once it becomes Neil Gaiman or actual Lady Gaga with millions of followers, that stuff will break down radically.
Well, I'm trying to understand what it is that bugs people. Is it that the comment threads go on and on and you see them all?
No, it's that it breaks the cron. Is that you get
it's the fact that the heavily commented stuff surfaces up.
It's both. It breaks the chronological order. It also enforces a chronological order to see millions of Me Too-ish comments. So the challenge is, if you ask a question on Twitter, you will get a whole bunch of @replies, and you can look at them quickly and decide which ones you want to respond to. If you ask a question on Buzz, those turn into a giant
thread.
Conversation thread because you've brought in thousands of people, and there's a positive feedback loop that amplifies it and makes it more annoying. And it also makes it easier for trolls to take over the conversation because everyone sees the entire conversation.
I suspect Google thought, as I kind of do, that as long as you provide an easy way to mute this, which of course I can't mute my own comment. Here, let's mute this one. That then I don't see it anymore, and it's gone, and it doesn't.
It's still the question of what the default feels like. Does this default feel like there are people I know here, or there are people I don't know here?
Right.
And what happens with Twitter is, by default, the first view you see is the people you've chosen to follow.
Right.
You have to actually click something to see @replies, and, unless you're running a different client. And you have to make it an extra effort to see the second degree stuff. Whereas on this, it's pushed back at you. So if you make the mistake of following Robert Scoble, suddenly your entire view of this is through his lens because he's feeding so much traffic into it and so many people responding to him. And that's a sort of subtle thing that. One of the reasons that Twitter does work for ridiculously famous people is they can still decide to have a conversation amongst the people they want to have, and have lots of people atting them that they can go and dip into when they want, when they feel like being more magnanimous. But that doesn't actually cause a problem for everyone else.
So if Lady Gaga joined and got 1,000 comments on every thread, she would always be at the top. Is what you're saying?
Not necessarily be at the top, but they fixed that a bit. So they made it only.
It doesn't seem like that. Yeah.
If someone you know is commenting on it, but the thing is, once someone does, I follow enough people who follow Lady Gaga and may comment on one of her threads because she's a phenomenon, and that will then pull the entire thread in, and the other 100,000 little monsters making hand gestures and saying rah.
Well, but that's okay. So but I if it's a good thread, I want to see the other people's engagement. So I mean that's really more of a problem with Lady Gaga and the noise of her followers than it is.
Right, and it comes in truncated, and you can choose to explode it or not. So that's okay. It'll show me, top 2, latest 2 something. It'll give me a sample of 2 comments, and then it's up to me as to whether to explode and see all 100 or not.
I seem to have followed something really not what I wanted to follow, by the way.
A great story about Lady Gaga. I just heard here at Idea Lab. I arrive in L.A. as they are having what they're calling here now I'm going to forget the word of it, but they're closing the 405 freeway.
Oh, yeah, crazy.
The Carmageddon thing, yes.
Yeah,
Carmageddon. And they're going absolutely berserk here. It's hilarious. It's as if the city is having a bypass operation.
You have to take Sepulveda, for crying out loud.
Oh, yeah. The Slauson cutoff gets back, right? And they're going berserk here. My lunch companions told me that the city asked Lady Gaga to tweet this so that more people would find out.
Wow.
And think about that. That means what happened was Lady Gaga has more followers than Los Angeles Times.
She has replaced the civil defense system.
Yes.
Remember when we used to have on radio and it'd go put off a tone and beep, burp, burp. This has been an alert of the civil defense. That's Lady Gaga now.
Not just that, she's also the Los Angeles Times and television.
She goes,
she's
Gaga,
media.
oh my Gaga, we are 405 is closed. I don't know if that's a good comment or not on our society. That's really so. Now, if I see, I wish I could search for Carmageddon on Google Plus.
Yeah,
I kind of can because I can go site equals : plus
Right,
Google.com and then Carmageddon, but
it's kind of absurd.
it should be internal, and hashtags should be implemented. But I think all that stuff
they'll come. They're working hard on it. And the fact that they're enlisting and doing all that, I think, is important.
You can see how hard this is, though, because just
but this, the thing is that there is this problem that following, people's audiences are not normally distributed. They're exponentially distributed. You have Lady Gaga at one end, and then sort of up that same high end of the curve, there's Leo and people who have Scoble and people who have a lot of followers. And then way down the other end, there's a large mass of people who are talking to a handful of people most of the time.
And you will never see them at the top because they have so few followers, right?
Right. And the thing is, you want different things at different phases of constructing one of these things. So at the startup phase, you do want to demonstrate lots of engagement. Right. So you clearly do want to bring people into this. There's something there phase that we're seeing with Plus. But after a while, you overshoot and you get to this flood is unmanageable,
right.
And then people back off, and it's a classic.
So it's fixable.
It's
in
fixable.
Fact, they probably are doing this on purpose.
They may have been initially doing it on purpose to amplify this, but it'd be tricky to actually get the thing that Twitter sort of stumbled into right, because it is a different presumption about what a comment thread looks like.
Right.
And this is something that YouTube has this issue too. YouTube has some videos with millions of people on them, and the comment threads are completely useless.
Right.
And it has some small ones that are somebody's art film where the comment thread is actually useful. There was somebody did a response to YouTube's copyright thing that explained what fair use actually was, rather than the YouTube copyright school saying, if you copy anything, you must be breaking the law. Yes. And with the cute pirate cats and things. And
I loved it. Yeah.
Did a nice reply to that. But the comments to that one are very sensible discussions of what actually fair use constitutes, what copyright is, because it's a narrow thing. Denise linked to it earlier.
Here's my problem with that is I saw it. It went by in the stream.
Yes.
And I can't find the sucker.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the other problem, is that there's no good way to kind of pin stuff or bookmark stuff.
You can't favorite things, which is a Google function they should put on it.
Well, we have there is a workaround, which is you create a circle with only you in it, and then you reshare whatever you want to save to that circle. But that's a crappy
again, they'll come to that. One thing I don't understand watching the 2 weeks here is the I'm going to say this the wrong way. The quality of posts. The quality of posts is what I mean by that is that why are animated GIFs taking over
because
MySpace
we can. We couldn't on Twitter, and we can here.
Yeah, but even Tumblr doesn't. I mean, Tumblr, you can have a cat picture.
I don't have a single animated GIF in the first 10 or 20 posts.
But then Chris Perillo would do it, and even though I
unfollowed him.
But now everybody shares Chris Perillo animated GIFs or those kinds of pictures you have, right?
I don't mind these. These are all right.
Yeah, but the 20th time you've seen it.
Well, look, it keeps coming
exactly.
up, doesn't
That's
it?
the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't need to see every reshare of it because there's a comment on it. It's creating a kind of low quality noise in a way that they have to dedupe, not just one of the Twitter problems is the retweet. You see the same thing over and again when it's retweeted, and I wish they could dedupe that. Here, I think you want to dedupe the shares because every time it's shared, they'll just tell you that. But I also want to dedupe the media behind it.
Yes.
Jeff, you've already seen that funny picture.
Right. You don't need to see that again.
It's not funny the 10th time.
But these are all things that can be fixed. I think I don't want to spend like an hour talking about feature requests for Google Plus because God knows I'm sure rolling out a ton of them. They've been very slow in the first 2 weeks. They only a few little changes here and there.
That's kind of funny. When you get right down to that's kind of funny that not doing huge changes in 2 weeks is now considered slow.
I think it's good. I think it's good. I think they're probably wise not to jump to every request. However, there's a guy who did an analysis which I thought was quite ingenious. He tracks how common surnames are, and by looking at the growth of particular surnames, and then comparing them to the overall commonality in the U.S. of those surnames, he's able to kind of I think it sounds fairly accurately project the size of Google Plus, at least in the U.S., because he's not doing it outside U.S. He estimates 10 million users by this weekend. Does that sound off to you?
Sounds high. Though I guess what would make it believable to me is how much they emphasized international.
There's a lot of international.
There's a hell of a lot, which is wonderful. I love that. I also told them I quoted Gina in 3 or 4 meetings there that they don't have enough women, and not just to have women, but to also have people who are going to have different kinds of problems with the service, so they know it. And I said you should put on all of Glam and all of Blog Her overnight, and that would help you a lot.
Yeah.
Right. But the other thing is that they haven't got anyone under 18 on there, which I think is a massive mistake, because that is they said share this with your family, and I thought great, I'll invite my sons. They said no, you can't. They can't come on. They're under 18.
Yeah.
So that is a massive piece of usage. I'm sure they'd love it, and enjoy dealing with it, and it's a group that will test this in ways that they hadn't thought of yet.
Speaking of that, I think we see, of course, all the public engagement, and probably at least you and me, Jeff, post publicly for the most part. But I'm wondering how many people are using it in the other way. You could absolutely use this a la Facebook and just post to particular circles. I've tried a little bit with work, posting to the TWiT's circle. That's not worked well because there's so much other noise, they don't see that.
Right.
But,
well, they could click on. You need to. Then you have to have synchronous circles. You have to. Your staff has to agree that you all have a TWiT circle,
and they'd have to know to look once in a while,
which would be a hassle to manage. But I think that's something where you can. I would like.
There's potential there. I think there's something there that is different than Twitter, which is it can be used in a variety of kind of ways that are not Twitter-like. It could be used to just talk to your family. I tried using it as a DM system, and of course, again, the noise kills it because the DM I sent, I'm sure, scrolled way off the page before.
It shows up in notifications. Those ones do. So that if you actually ping someone, they'll show up there. But yeah,
I have so many notifications. I mean, I guess I'm unusual.
So many of them are follows. Yeah.
I can't keep track of my notifications. There's always 9 notifications at all times.
I wish we could. One of the features that I use on Twitter now is I watch my media wonks list more than my Twitter feed, and I like that I can publish that list. It'd be nice if you could publish a twit list to your fellow employees, and say, a circle and follow that.
What about Kevin Rose, who says, I'm going to redirect kevinrose.com to my Google Plus, and I'm not having a blog anymore? Is that just a showboat, or is that a...
Yeah.
It's a dumb idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the blog does do different things. But right now, it does multiple links and things like that.
Well, one of the advantages, though, is you get all this engagement. I mean, even a big name like Kevin Rose probably gets 10 times more people seeing everything he writes on Google Plus than he does on his blog.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is, believe me, this is, my publisher is salivating over the possibilities to promote the book on here. I won't bug you too much, folks, but I will some.
Soon, September.
September 26th. Public Parts, Simon & Schuster. Yeah.
Simon & Schuster, not a News Corp publisher.
No, not a News Corp.
Right.
I left the News Corp.
I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Is that because you write a lot about News Corp in the book?
Yeah, I'm talking about open and closed companies and institutions, and News Corp is the most closed institution I could imagine in media by far.
And you had a deal with them.
I had a deal with them, but I had not signed the contract.
Interesting.
And so I pulled the book from HarperCollins and News Corp. And frankly, with all the current kerfuffle and hoopla, I am glad not to be there. This News of the World story is unbelievable.
Well, we're going to get to that because I do want to get your take on that. Absolutely. And Kevin's English, so.
Yes,
you can speak about
Kevin's not a News of the World reader.
In the proper accent.
Not for a while, no. It's not sort of site I go to on the web.
Yeah, but it's still, you got to say it right. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. I think we'll talk a little more about Google Plus, and there's a lot more about Android and all sorts of stuff going on. Gina Trapani not with us. I know she's right now. She's going through withdrawal, even though it's the middle of the night in China. She's going, I feel I should be doing something. I hope she's having a great time in Shanghai. But she'll be back in a couple of weeks. This is the second to last, by the way, This Week in Google we'll be doing from the studio, the old cottage. Next week, we'll be here. 2 weeks hence, we will be all... And I had a major, all-hands engineering meeting yesterday, and all I kept saying is, are you sure we could do it on July 24th? Are you sure July 24th? That's only 11 days. Are you sure? And they said, yes, we're sure. So we'll be doing the show... in the new studio soon. And you know what's going to be cool?
Doing it in the backyard.
Yeah, we might. Who knows? You know what's going to be cool, though, is that instead of being in this Hollywood Square thing, we're going to decompose it deconstruct it, and you'll each of you have a seat at the table with a monitor around the table. It might look so weird that we have to do something else. It's
What's the, on
kind of strange.
The nerd character on
Sheldon.
Sheldon,
on Big Bang.
what's his thing? What do you call it?
Yeah, he has this remote thing where he rolls around.
Yeah,
and
chat room. What's the name for that? They have a name for it.
Is there a name for that?
Yeah, because that's what all the guests will be now.
Yeah, they will be. So whatever that is, that's what we're going to make you be. I'm watching. We don't. Chat room apparently doesn't watch Big Bang Theory. Gosh, that's surprising. Virtual presence device.
Oh no,
that's
maybe
what
I'm
it
wrong,
is.
But I thought it had a name. I thought it did. All right, never mind.
Sheldon.
We're all Sheldons. Yes,
we're all Sheldons. We'll call it a Sheldon. Why not?
Sheldon.
That's good. I like that.
On our Sheldon today, to my left, Jeff Jarvis. To my right, I'm Kevin Marks. I think that's it exactly. Hey, before we go on though, I do want to talk a little bit about our good friends at Squarespace. The secret behind exceptional websites. Goodness gracious, you could make your blog be just a Google Plus blog, but I think you really should have a presence on the web that you control, that you own, that you have. And this is it. This is the place to do it. Squarespace.com. Actually, KevinRose.com was a Squarespace site. He's gonna regret this. First of all, plenty of bandwidth. You never run out. Can you do this? Can you post and manage comments on your iPhone or iPad on that other one? No, but you can on Squarespace, a great app. You can even watch your stats. And yes, you get full stats. You'll know your visitors. The ability to incorporate photo galleries and social integration with Twitter and Facebook and all the RSS feeds, Flickr. This makes it so much easier to design a site. You don't need to have any CSS or JavaScript skills. If you do, hey, all the more power to you. You can do that too. Now, here's the deal. You can import your data from all the major APIs, Movable Type, WordPress, Typepad, or Blogger, and export too. It's fully circular. So you're never trapped. Now, Squarespace includes hosting and the best content management software out there. It's just a beautiful, elegant piece of code that makes your site sing. You never run out of bandwidth with Squarespace. And, of course, some of the best people in the world use it. I wonder now if Squarespace is going to change. They have a little plug from Kevin Rose on here. And I wonder if they're going to have to take that off. He says things like, I can never bring down my Squarespace site. He says here, 85,000 uniques to my site today, kevinrose.com from Dig. I guess you know how dated it is from that. I know this shouldn't shock me, but it does. Insane. Squarespace. Just fantastic. Here's the deal. Go to squarespace.com. You'll find that big green button that says try it free. You can start a site. You can actually start many, many sites. Just kind of play with the tools. You get access to everything for 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, you can buy the site or not. You let it go. Price is very affordable. $12 a month if you sign up for a year, even less if you sign up for a longer term. And here's the deal. If you use the offer code TWIG7, you will get 10% off your new site for the first 6 months. Now that's a good deal. 10% off for the first 6 months. Squarespace.com. When you sign up, use the offer code TWIG7. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. Trying to catch you in a yawn, Jeff. I did.
I thought I was safe. I tried to get them all in. I got jet lag.
Oh yeah, you're in Cali right now. It's possible Bill Gross will pop his head in. If he does, we'll say hello. He's actually posts fairly actively as well.
He's very good. He's loving
Google Plus. You know who else? Richard Branson just started posting.
Allegedly.
You think it's not him?
Well, we haven't seen a chain of
we can't
authentication for anywhere else, have we?
Yeah. Is who? I think it was the girl in Who's the Boss verified. Is that her? Alyssa Milano verified using Twitter. So she tweeted,
"Yes,
that is my Google Plus account." So now we know.
Well, and of course we can all verify. Yeah. I actually have a new job. We can verify using Scoble. Because Scoble knows everyone.
Scoble verified Zuck for us.
Right, so we can verify me.
But we do have a way to do this properly, which is RollMe. There is a way to actually do this by connecting sites together with RollMe's to say this is me and this is also me. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So, but oddly, Google isn't actually amplifying that.
Yeah, I wish they would. Well, they're kind of rolling that out. In fact,
they're doing it as part of the Rel Author stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the author thing.
So what you do, just for people who want to know, here's my website, my canonical website, and what you need is a page per author. So this is my bio, and in the code of this bio, is the HTML rel equals quote me end quote. Is that right, Kevin?
Yes.
Yep, that's right.
And then in every post, so if I go to a blog post, also in the HTML, invisible to humans but not to the Google, is the code rel equals quote author quote. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
And then by doing so,
It's not
in
on every post, it's on
theory,
every
when I
page.
search for myself on Google, that the articles that I wrote or the pages that I authored, I guess. Oh, it worked.
Yeah.
Have
There's,
my
a, there's a Leo.
there's a Leo.
Right.
So is this verification?
Yes, the thing that's yes, this verification by it's distributed verification. This is the same as the social graph API stuff that we did way back when, and it's the XFN standard is relatively new.
XFN, that's right.
It's part of that.
And XFN
that-
has a number of other things. Wait a minute, here's Bill Gross. Let's say hello to Bill Gross. Hey, Bill.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well,
The show's
we're thrilled to
been
have
terrific.
you.
I really enjoy it.
So is Uber Media going to continue doing the Twitter stuff, or I know you're very positive about Google Plus.
Yeah, you commented on a bunch of the things already today. How great the engagement is on Google Plus. It's just fantastic. So I'd love to figure out ways to work with that as well. And a few different things you brought up. First, I also took the leap, like Kevin, and pointed my blog over. You said it was kind of dumb to
You
do
did that, really?
Yeah, I did that. Well, I did it because of the engagement and the ability to write something and get so much positive feedback and actually talk with people. The engagement was so much higher, and the spam from my WordPress blog was so much worse.
Right.
It was unbelievable. I really couldn't talk with anybody, but the fidelity and the signal-to-noise ratio being so good at Google Plus. Now, it'll be interesting to see if that can hold up as it opens up wider. You know, the rumors of between 4.5 million and 10 million people right now, it's probably in that range. What happens when there's 50 million people or 100 million people? Will the signal-to-noise be as good? And I think that Google, because of their algorithms, probably can do a better job of that than most people. So maybe that will hold up. We'll see. You brought up one other thing earlier. The insight that you had about the clever way that Twitter only shares the comments with other people you're following.
Yeah.
That was a very good insight when you talked about that earlier. That might be something that's necessary to really filter out the comment stream from being so huge.
Well,
But right now, the huge comment stream is a plus. We'll see if that turns into a minus.
Well, I think it's a transition point on particular streams as well. I think when there are 4 or 5 comments on there, you're happy to see them all. But when it hits 1,000, you clearly want some way of reducing that. And that's a really strong signal that would make sense to you. And it's one that works well on Twitter.
Absolutely. And then, Jeff, you brought up the issue of the changing of the cron. You know, that something has to be done to, maybe your idea, the one you suggested to them of give me a choice. I either want it in chronological order or I want it bumped up. Or, again, I trust Google more than almost anyone to come up with a clever algorithm to try and make that work out. That they did it this well in a first release, you know, what they're even calling a 0.1 release, not even a 1.0. But even as a 1.0, it's a brilliant, brilliant product.
Well, what was your take on the real-time search going away, Bill?
Yeah, that I'm really curious. I don't know whether it was prompted from the Twitter side or from the Google side, so I really don't know. I actually thought that the tweets being integrated into Google searches, it was starting to show up more and more, and it was starting to be pretty good. So it is kind of a shame that it's gone, because it was starting to look pretty nice. But look, now Google is getting so much content in Google+, they can start surfacing Google+ posts in search. And maybe they can do a better algorithmic job because they have more signals about what's actually relevant or not.
Though part of the irony of that is that because so much is made, we don't know how much, but so much is made not public. They're having a lot less there than they could have.
Yeah.
The other question, Bill, why do you think that Google didn't include search in the beginning of Google+?
Yeah. Well, Google is a search company, so they're going to do search really, really well. The only thing I could think of is it just wasn't ready for prime time because they wanted to make it perfect. And they had something so good, they wanted to roll it out. They're going to have great search, and that's going to make a big difference. And I'm really curious. I have been posting, and you guys were talking about this earlier, mostly public, because I have things that I want to share with people. And I don't want to limit it to just a circle unless I have a family-like circle or a private one, like you were talking about making up business ones. You know, like we have an Uber Media one, we have an Idea Lab one. But most of the things that I'm sharing, I'm trying to open up a broader discussion. I wonder how many people are doing that versus how many people are really keeping their things very tightly in circles and more private. I think one of the beautiful things about Twitter and one of the things about Google Plus is it is public. It is very different from Facebook. I wonder if that's the way people are really going to end up using it. And something about what you were talking about earlier about the very subtle rules, very little things can make a big impact on how the thing plays out. You said, you were laughing, why are people doing animated GIFs? Because they can. So,
yes.
Maybe some of the little rules that Google tweaks will have wild unintended consequences, but I think they'll stay on top of it to correct things and bring it back to a happy medium.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, I turned myself down. Surely they are aware that everything they do has a huge impact. It's almost like a terrarium. Where, you know, you take the turtle out and everything dies. And
That's a really good analogy.
well, it's an ecosystem. I think that's probably a fair comparison.
Yes.
You really
How do you
create-
guys see the relationship of Google Plus to Twitter to Tumblr to blog posts? How do you see the cloud of tchotchkes evolving?
I think, you know, my question here is, and maybe Bill has some insight, and I know you and Kevin might as well. It's clear that there's a lot of stickiness and appeal to Google Plus, and I'm just not sure what it is. Maybe it's UI, maybe it's the group that's there right now, and I'm not sure how long-lived that will be. If it's just the group that's there now, that's going to change dramatically. Is there some magic sauce in Google Plus, and what is it? Bill, do you have a thought on that?
Well, for me, the biggest magic sauce is the group that is there certainly matters, but I think that there's something else they've done. They have taken some of the best ideas of Facebook, some of the best ideas of Twitter, and then they've added smart threading and smart groups. And that is a relatively small but big innovation at the same time. It's small in that, well, how could that little thing make that much difference? But it really does. It forms a new type of self-expression, just like the rules of Twitter formed a new type of self-expression, the asymmetry that you brought up about it relative to Facebook. A whole life form emerged from the rules that Twitter set up. And there's this new interesting life form emerging because of the rules that have been set up. Now, as you said, it's a terrarium. So, and then spammers are going to show up.
Yeah.
So right now the spammers weren't invited yet.
They're the acid rain of the terrarium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to be amazing. You know, when it goes fully open, people are going to be, like every system, trying to game it for their benefit and find ways to make money.
It strikes me, I know you have a lot of investment in Twitter, although I imagine all of your clients, the Uber Media clients, I mean, they're really complete platform agnostic, so it doesn't from your point of view, it doesn't matter. In fact, you might have some feelings about it not being Twitter after the way they treated you. And I won't go on any further. I'm just wondering if, though, that Twitter what may happen is a very clear roles may emerge for Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus, and they may be able to coexist quite nicely. Twitter really is going to, I think, become in many ways more infrastructure, a signaling system. That's what ended up happening to Friendfeed and Buzz. People didn't even really visit that often. They use it as a signaling system.
Yeah, I think that all of them are going to survive and thrive.
Yeah.
Not Twitter and Facebook are not going away because of Google Plus.
This is not a Twitter killer.
No, but I think that there is going to be a level of innovation on those two platforms, on Twitter and Facebook, that is forced by Google Plus, which I think is going to be great for consumers.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, totally great. I think Bing made Google raise their game in a great way. And I think Google Plus is going to make everybody raise their game in a great way.
One last question, Bill, and we'll let you go. I know you have lots to do, but I'm just curious if you see this as, I have to say, and this is a show about Google, about the cloud. For the last year, we kind of felt like Google maybe had lost its way a little bit, was not able to innovate in the way a small company, a nimble company is able to innovate. It strikes me that this launch, along with Hangout and these new products, kind of shows a Google that is still innovative, still is creative, still can do something very significant. Do you feel that is the case?
Oh, I totally feel this is a Google has its mojo back moment.
Exactly.
I think that this is a collision of a lot of work. Obviously, this has been worked on for a long time. But this is a collision of so many different threads Google's been taking, both their infrastructure, their video, their Chrome browser. Look how valuable that is to this. So many different threads have come together to make this great. And it's the right time and the right place and the right product. I mean, it's a really, really well-executed product. So I think it's amazing to watch some of the companies today that are this big, to watch Apple, a company this big, to grow at that kind of rate, to grow their revenues year over year like they have with such wild innovation, and to watch a company like Google that's this big with that many tens of thousands of employees to innovate like this, that is damn impressive. Really, really impressive.
Bill's done so many great things at Idea Lab. So many great companies have come out of Idea Lab. Is there a company that you're excited about that's on the horizon that you want to talk about?
Well, I'm doing a lot of stuff both on the internet but also in solar energy. I have a dream that we can get solar energy to be less expensive than fossil fuels. It's not an easy challenge, but it's a very important one. So I'm working very, very hard on that as well.
And where do you make the improvements? In the efficiency on solar cells?
Well, it's both efficiency and it's cost. And it's reducing the balance of system costs. It's reducing all kinds of things to make it lower than fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are so cheap because you just dig them out of the ground and burn them.
Right.
But we're going to run out this century, and it's either going to be pretty or ugly. And if we can come up with a cost-effective solution, we can make it be pretty and not ugly. And I'm hoping I can be a part of that.
And one of the great things I saw this morning in the tour that Bill gave me, besides it being a great space where you just feel creative all around, and you know the ghosts of companies that are here, but he has a physical shop where they actually make things. It's so Edison. What all do they have?
Well, we have a full CNC machine shop that we make available to all the companies. Not all the companies use it. Obviously, some of them use our servers and not our CNC milling machine. But we try and make it available so that every company in the building can prototype rapidly, focus more on its customer and not on the mechanics of getting things done. And it's just one of the philosophies that we have that's paid off very well for us.
Really great. It's so good to talk to you, Bill.
Oh, same here. Thank you so much. I admire what you're doing so much. And it's such an honor to be on your show.
Oh, my. I feel exactly the same. Idealab.com. But if you go to billgross.com, guess where it takes you? It takes you to the Google. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Great to talk to you. And thank you, Jeff. That's once again, Jeff Jarvis with the big score. We're going to take a little break. Jeff Jarvis and Kevin Marks are here. We're talking about Google+, but enough of that. I gotta find out what you think of Murdoch. The B Sky B initiative dead. News of the World dead. Is Rupert Murdoch finally? How could we put this? Is
Toast.
he finally defanged? Is he toast? We'll talk about it in just a bit. Before we do, let me tell you about backup real quickly. I want to talk about Carbonite.com. You know, my friend Peter Krogh, we got to get him. I think we're going to get him on TWiT Photo very soon. He's just a great photographer, but also the author of a book called the Digital Asset Management Book. This is something every photographer has to deal with. How do you protect your assets, cover your assets, as you might say? And of course, it's all about good backups. He coined the term 3-2-1 backup, and I constantly refer to that when I'm talking about backups. Now, let me just tell you the 3-2-1 backup strategy, then I'll tell you how Carbonite fits into that. 3-2-1 means 3 copies of everything. That could be the original and 2 copies. But if you delete the original, then you've lost. So you have to have 3 copies. You know, I hear people make 1 backup, then delete the original, say, but I'm backed up. No, that's 1 copy. You got to have 3 copies of everything. 2 of them on different media. So don't put everything on a USB key or an external hard drive, because that's not going to do it. And finally, and this is the most important, one of them has to be off-site. If there's a disaster and you've got, you've done the 3-2-1. See, I have a DVD here. I've got an external hard drive here, and I've got my original on the computer. I got 3-2, and then there's a fire. You've lost them all. Somebody comes and steals everything, you've lost them all. You've got to have the off-site backup. Now, there's no easier way to fulfill the requirements of 3-2-1 than Carbonite.com. Yes, continue to make your local copy. That's great. That's easy. It's fast. It's right there. I carry USB keys around with me. That's good. But that off-site backup, Carbonite. Here's what happens. Go to Carbonite.com. Install it on your PC or Mac. It's free for the first 2 weeks, no credit card or anything. Just use the offer code TWIG. Immediately starts using your internet connection to back up your data. Now, once that full backup set is done, and by the way, Carbonite charges 1 flat rate for all the data on your internal drive. Once that backup is done, then it's continually backing up whenever you're online. If it's a laptop, it's really good for a laptop because, you know, when you carry around a laptop, the whole world is in there, right? But Carbonite, whenever you're in an access point, whenever you're at home, it's backing up, and keeps you backed up. That data is available anywhere. It's true cloud storage. You can log onto your Carbonite account from any PC or Mac. There's your stuff. They even have an Android application, a BlackBerry app, an iPhone app, so you can always see your data. And should the worst happen, restore is as simple as logging in your Carbonite account and pressing the restore button. It's a good way to move to a new computer, for instance. So here's the deal. Try it free for 2 weeks. Carbonite.com. Use the offer code TWIG. When you decide to buy, I know you will because it's such a good solution. This is great for kids going off to college. That's what I did with my daughter's laptop. It's great for, you know, any device that isn't like a Chromebook that actually has data on it. When you decide to buy, use the offer code TWIG. It's $59 for a year, unlimited for a year, but you'll get 14 months for the price of 12 when you use the offer code TWIG. You got to back it up to get it back. Do it right with Carbonite. Offer code TWIG. So we've talked a little bit about this whole pretexting scandal. It looks like it's interesting. It's not just the Sun and the News of the World, which are Rupert Murdoch's two big tabloids in the UK, but is the Times also involved in this?
Not really known yet, or even the Sun is fully known yet. Part of the problem with reporting things in the UK is that you can't report criminal activity too early in the process to prejudice the trial.
But there is an investigation. They've hauled in a bunch of people.
Yes.
And it's kind of been admitted by some, right, that they were checking people's voicemails, you know, by hacking. Hacking's the wrong word to use. Guessing.
It is.
Passwords.
The hackers get mad at it because it's simple. Why don't you explain again how it was done?
Well, you said pretexting, so that's where you use social engineering to call up and get a password or get some information. But we were talking with Steve Gibson, our security guy, earlier, and he said also the fact is on a lot of these voicemail accounts, yours too and mine too, there's a default remote access PIN, which is often 1234 0000, or at least in my case, on many of my phones, the last 4 digits of the phone number, all of which are known. If you have the phone number,
right.
It's easy.
And what they would do is one reporter would call the number so that they tied up the line, so it would go to the voicemail line, and then the other one would do the pretexting.
Amazing. Now, it's not that it's so hard or so clever or so sophisticated. It's just that it's unethical evil. As hell. It's evil.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. And it was done to reported as many as 4,000 people, including the family of a murdered girl who was then thought to be missing, including the families of dead soldiers in Iraq.
They, in some cases, erased these emails, voicemails.
They erased the emails on the dead girl's account so that more would be left, so they'd have more material. Royals. Prime Minister Gordon Brown's account. They tried to get the medical records of his child. I mean, it's just really, truly abhorrent. And what's fascinating about it is I wrote my little poem on Plus this morning that, you know, Humpty Dumpty sat on a paywall. Humpty Dumpty had a great bail. All the king's horses and all the king's men are now trying to fry him like an omelet. And what's fascinating is that Murdoch was the one who built the biggest institution of some would say, put quotes around it, air quotes around journalism, but around news of anybody. He created this institutional behemoth. It had a very cozy relationship in the government media complex.
That was the other thing, is bribes and...
police. And he was warned by The Guardian explicitly not to hire the former editor of News of the World as his spokesman, and Cameron, rather, and he did. So the connections between the Murdoch empire and government were very tight and cozy, and Murdoch himself is bringing it down. I mean, the company itself is bringing itself down. So they as you all know, they closed the News of the World, which was a fairly abhorrent but large tabloid. They wanted to buy B Sky B, which was a huge prize. Murdoch only owns 39% of it, and all of Parliament. It was proposed by the Liberals, but the Conservatives, the government had to come in behind too, and they would have voted today to urge him to drop the bid. So before that, he dropped the bid, which is a huge impact on the company. People ask what the impact is going to be in the U.S. for our U.S. listeners.
He owns Fox News, the Dow Jones folks who publish the Wall Street Journal.
I think there's a chance, and this is only speculation, this is not a prediction, but after I wrote this on Monday, the Financial Times and Felix Salmon at Reuters and others came in, John Gapper at the FT came in and saying the same thing. I think that News Corp may have to get out of the news business Because if all you are is an entertainment executive, then you're known to be rapacious. That's not
It's okay.
not a big deal.
It's allowed to be
Yeah.
a shark if you're selling programming.
But the fact that he brings now such cooties to the news business and brings such presentation.
Why blame Rupert Murdoch for this? Is he really to blame for this?
Because he's management. The buck stops there.
Do you think he created a culture where this was encouraged?
Yeah, encourage.
Yeah,
you know, but I want to be careful about that because, and let me say, because I know right now there are listeners of this show who get mad at me who are now tweeting away any second. I'm not a stock Murdoch basher. I worked for the company at TV Guide. I want to say very loudly that I got no editorial interference there. I got lots of editorial interference at Time Inc.
Oh, that's interesting.
The thing about the company is to know is it's very Australian, very seat of the pants, very decentralized.
Right.
So I think the culture is not so much that Rupert, though he loves to find out what's on page one of his papers and deal with that. The culture is let's do something that'll please the boss. Let's do something that I know they'll like this, and it's that kind of culture. It's not that he orders.
It maintains the deniability. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kevin, you must be somewhat of an observer on this. It's funny because this story is only now gaining traction in the U.S. in the last week.
Right.
Big story in the U.K. for some time.
Well, it's been bubbling under for years. This thing that the Guardian have been sort of digging away at this, and the phone hacking stuff. As you know, they had a court case in 2006 or 7, wasn't it, Jeff? So this is not all new stuff. It's just that they've actually brought up some more allegations. But the other piece of this that has been a sea change is that the political candidates were all cowed by this. They were worried that if the Sun went against them, they'd lose the next election.
Exactly.
And so they would go soft on the News International papers and that stuff. But what happened over the last 2 weeks is that there was a massive online backlash against this, and a campaign to get advertisers to withdraw their advertising from the News of the World. And that was, I think, a big part of what caused this to tip back over and become a massive cause célèbre again. And so a lot of these allegations have been around for a long time.
Interesting.
Tom Watson, MP, who's someone I know through the Open Rights Group, has been talking about this for years and been told to shut up by his party and so on. And now the questions that he asked in Parliament and the things being brought up in the news stories. So it's like the institutions are sort of actually working as they're supposed to now, but they had to get kicked into it by a sort of online campaign.
Yeah, the Guardian has done spectacular work on this story. A friend of mine is over in UK now, and he said it feels very Watergate time like there, and it's really quite amazing.
How much of this is Schadenfreude, though, on the Guardian's part?
No, this is hard. They're delighted, but this is very hard work. As Kevin says, they went after it and after it. Nick Davies, the reporter, who is the one who convinced Assange to give him the WikiLeaks data. Davies is the brilliant kind of reporter. Alan Rusbridger, the editor of the Guardian, and in full disclosures, I write for the Guardian. Said in a wonderful video summing up last week that this was a week of the worst of journalism. Let's remember also the best of journalism. The fear that I have is that the news media in the UK are regulated non-TV by the Press Complaints Commission, which is a private organization. There's going to be a push to bring government regulation to news media. My American quasi-libertarian soul, just abhor that idea. And I think it's the wrong thing to do. And I think the real truth here is that the readers are your regulators. The government proved to be a terrible regulator. The government is part of the corruption, from police up to number 10. And so the best thing we can do is to open up journalism more to more people. Craig Newmark and I talked last week. His hobby horse right now is fact checking. And, I wonder how to make that scale so you don't just have...
I think there are a lot of out-of-work fact-checkers who are glad to hear that.
Well, yeah.
There's business.
There is business. And so, why shouldn't every news story have a fact-check box on it? The New York Times does.
You could crowdsource it now.
You could start to do that. Not
Use
that
the
you
internet.
hand over all the work to them. A crowd could not do what Nick Davies did. Absolutely not. But the crowd can dig in documents, the crowd can fact-check things, the crowd can raise questions about things the politicians say and journalists say.
Doesn't that mean that we don't really need to do this anymore? Because as soon as you publish a story, that the hordes will jump on it and start to pick it apart, and if there's a problem, they'll find it?
Well, don't you find that true, Leo?
Yeah.
So if you say anything wrong, bingo. And they're
it's
on
certainly
you.
true for us.
And the difference is the attitude about that. The attitude that you have is, thank you.
Right. All right, let's move on. I think that we've covered that. It isn't technically a Google subject, but because Jeff is such an astute observer.
Well, I made it a little cloudy there.
You did. You did a good job. You got to cloudify it. Oh gosh, there's so much to talk about going on here. That's not Google Plus. I'm going to try to skip ahead. Google Offers rolls out in more markets, including here in the San Francisco Bay Area and New York City. Got my new Google Shopper 2.0 with Google Offers. Strange offer. One of the local restaurants is offering $100 off on a education. I think there's a mistake in here, but otherwise they've already got quite a few offers in my small little town of Petaluma.
Really?
Yeah. So that means that the
Do you
Google
have, have you had-
sales.
are they manicurish, or are they better than that?
No, they're not bad. So here's Cucina Paradisa offering $100 off my tuition at the Italian restaurant down the street. Papa John's Pizza, Bistro Sabor, free churros, Los Arcos, free coffee super deal. That's in Santa Rosa. See, these are local. I don't know. I guess they've been doing this for longer than that's Eat. Let's see what Play is. Yeah, and here's the here's some $1,500 off
That's
LASIK.
an impressive number.
$1,500.
No. Even in Petaluma,
Little old
that
Petaluma.
many deals.
Taekwondo, free first class. AIM Mail Center, $2 off notary public charges.
I'll bet all those businesses have claimed their place pages, and that's Google's low-hanging fruit.
There is a little place button that shows up.
That's why then. Yeah, that's what they said they were going to do, and that's what they're doing. And so now they have something else to sell the 6 million businesses that have claimed their place pages.
Places, I think there's no reason not to do a place page. That's just such an obvious.
It's not unlike, I'm sorry not to go back to Plus, but it's not unlike how they're making the profile page canonical for people. They want the place page to be canonical for the business.
Right. So Google Offers now in Austin, Boston, Denver, New York City, Uptown, Downtown, and Midtown, Oakland, East Bay, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C.
New York City, the one's so big we need 3 of them.
Uptown, Downtown, and Midtown. I'm not going downtown.
But not San Jose.
Here.
Damn.
No San Jose. Well, I wonder if San Francisco means the whole Bay Area. Let's see. Oh, nothing. Well, wait a minute. You know what? I was wrong. So I was looking at...
So how do I look?
You have to have the new Google Shopper, which just came out, 2.0. And then there is then you have to subscribe, and it looks like there actually is nothing to buy in Petaluma right now. So whatever these other deals were, that's interesting.
They were Bay Area deals?
No, they were in the Bay. I don't understand the difference between that and Google Offers, but apparently there are offers. I don't know why. There are some. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's. Somebody at Google can explain what the difference is between offers and offers. But apparently there is a difference. I'll honor their offer, and it'll be honor and offer all night. Moving right along. Google...
let's keep going.
Jeff Jarvis said that.
No, I did not. I say everything else bad, but I didn't say that.
Old joke. She offered her honor. He honored her offer and was honor and offer all night. Google Voice adds spam filters. Lets solicitors get caught in the web. Another good reason to use Google Voice. You can actually filter out the call you don't want.
Of course, on the regular phone, that's called Do Not Call.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
No, but they had this before, right? They had numbers that were known to be solicitors, and that you would then block them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like a kismet for phone calling.
So it's creating a spam folder for phone calls, texts, and voicemails. The company's servers use collected data from other users marking similar messages as spam, as well as proprietary identification tools to help ensure that those generic creditor or vacation sweepstakes calls never make it to your phone. I love that idea.
Yeah.
It's a shame we need it. Because, you're supposed to be able to say, and I try this all the time with solicitors, please add me to your do not call list.
Right.
The problem is many of these solicitations now are coming from outside the U.S., and they go, I do not know what that list is.
Well, the great thing about, the easiest signal you have is you pick up the phone and you say hello, and if there's a 15-second beat, you know what it is.
Right.
It's the phone room.
The phone room. Oh, we got one. We got a live one. Quick.
Right.
Android Market has been updated. Do you want to show? I don't have it yet on my phone. Apparently, it's being rolled out.
Should I try it on here? Okay.
Yeah. Look, it's beautiful.
I was looking at the Foursquare offers near me. That was my...
Foursquare also has offers. In fact, Foursquare did this whole update to their Android app that makes it superior to the iPhone app. This is just the beginning. I think you're going to start seeing as Android grows really fast that increasing. It's just what happened with Windows and Mac. Increasingly, people are going to go to Android first, and I'm starting to see that in a number of ways, including this Foursquare app where they put notifications in and some other features that are not yet in an iPhone. Of course, Google did it themselves. With
Is this the updated one or is this the old one? I'm not sure.
That's the old one. You want to see the new one?
Yeah.
Okay, rub your eyes. Get ready. This is so exciting, ladies and gentlemen. This is the new market. And it includes movies and books.
Now, what's the difference between that and Google Books? Is it just integrated?
Go out. Okay, I'm in apps right now. Let's go to market. Apps, games, books, movies. I mean, it's totally looks different. This, by the way, is the nicest phone for Android, but you can't get it in the U.S. yet. It's Samsung's Galaxy 2S, and is it beauteous? It's not mine. I wish it were. It's Eileen's. She, of course, has to have the latest and greatest. But it's just really sweet.
Android lady.
She's an Android lady. So let's look at Little Red Riding Hood. Oh, this is a movie. So I can rent this for $3.99. Watch it on my phone, or I presume tablet if I've paid for it. It's got reviews. It's got related. Nicely done.
That's really new for them.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems is they didn't have the Netflix ability, so now they have their own Netflix.
Yeah.
The question is, do they have any good movies?
Well, they have Little Red Riding Hood.
Well.
Hey there, Little Red Riding Hood. So, little Eileen Rivera, who has the best phone in the market, also then says to me, and can I get the new Amazon tablet when it comes out?
Is it is it Android?
Yes, supposedly it is.
Well, and I think she has
it's a
case,
rumor, right? This is from the Wall Street Journal. Amazon, I mean, I suppose that makes it a credible rumor. Journal seems to do pretty well. I think people leak stuff to the Journal. Amazon plans tablet by October. The Seattle-based company will release 2 updated versions of its Kindle electronic reader as well in the third quarter. One will be a touchscreen device. The other will not be touchscreen, but with a approved and cheaper adaptation of the current Kindle. Amazon, of course, not commenting. This is a rumor. The Amazon tablet, according to the Journal, will have a 9-inch screen. It will run on Android. It will not have a camera, said one person familiar with it. But it will allow Amazon customers to watch videos, read e-books, and listen to digital music they purchase or rent from Amazon.
I presume they're not going to limit it to their tablets, so anything you can do on Android, you can do from Amazon. You can do anywhere.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
Yeah. There also is a $139 version of the Kindle now, of the 3G Kindle. $139 is the lowest 3G they've ever offered. But you get ads from AT&T, I guess.
What's the advantage to Amazon to having its own tablet is what?
Same, I would guess, same advantage Apple has owning the iPad. They own the ecosystem, right?
Well, there's 2 things to this. I mean, one is that it means they get to put their app store on it as the default one.
Right.
And that means that they can sell not just books and media, but also apps through their system, which is something, at the moment, installing their app store is a major pain on the Google ones.
Yeah, you have to go to a URL and...
Yeah. I see the other piece of this is that the Nook is doing very well. For Barnes & Noble, there was one of the stories was that
that's interesting. It's competitive.
Top e-reader, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And that started out as a sort of locked down Android that would only let you read books, and they said, well, let's let people install apps too, and suddenly you got a $250 tablet that people actually want, and they've got a lot of salespeople who are reading magazines and things on it, and because they're selling it through the stores.
The speculation is though that the Nook's doing so well because it's color.
Right. That's part of it. And the other part of it is that they have, they have physical presence to sell it. So they have
a sale. I mean, you go to a store,
you could see it before you buy.
They've got a hawker right up there pushing it hard.
Right. For the first time ever, the Nook Color is the /1 leading e-reader sales for the first time ever.
The other thing that's somewhat related is the Philadelphia Inquirer is thinking about selling / giving away a tablet with long-term subscription.
Oh, that's good.
Well, yeah, it reminds me. It reminds me of the early days of the web where a lot of newspaper companies, Knight Ridder, decided they had to be ISPs.
Right.
And they started an ISP and for dial-up, and it seemed to make sense, but then again, it doesn't. It makes it seem that what you're a delivery business rather than you're a content business, relationship business. And so thinking you have to, get people on tablets, I don't know.
But it's a reasonable bundle business to do, right?
It does make sense, doesn't it?
You get promotions when you subscribe to things. They send you something that's sort of vaguely related. This is something that's
better than a
actually pretty
toaster.
well related.
Yeah.
And if it is actually not some ridiculously
related.
locked down device, but an actual one that you can install other things on, if it's like one of these, these type ones that are actually quite nice, then people will be attracted to that.
It does smell of desperation a little bit, though.
I think it does. What price point do you think tablet? Don't call it a 7, don't call it a 10. A 9-inch tablet will get to in 2 years. So what's the subsidy cost?
I think we're talking 100, 150.
So a wholesale cost, yeah. Nicholas,
Arcos already have some ones in that range.
Arcos is doing stuff, but they're also saving money in various ways. But yes, they're offering very inexpensive Android tablets.
I saw Nicholas Negroponte at an event at Harvard 3 weeks ago and at the Berkman Center, and he said that what comes next for one laptop per child is one tablet per child.
They realize that they... By the way, speaking of one laptop per child, how many of you are using your Chromebook on a regular basis?
I don't have one because I didn't get offered one.
Mr. Marks has one.
Using it right now. I've got it sitting here.
You like it?
Yeah, I've got the Twig episode guide up on it. I'm looking at that as my second screen.
Does it have anything to offer that makes it superior to a standard netbook? It's just a netbook, right?
It's not running Windows. That's superior.
It is. It's more secure, although I don't know if you can look at it and say, "Well, that feels more secure."
Well, you can. I mean, you can do you can do the account switching thing. If you want to do that.
It was so cool. I flew Virgin America yesterday, and not on my short haul, but on the long hauls.
They give you Samsungs.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. By the way, Amazon is now offering unlimited cloud music storage, much like Google is at least on its beta, and Apple plans to with iCloud. You still have to you have to buy a cloud drive storage plan. So I'm not sure how it's not free, but so if you don't pay for anything, you never buy nothing, you get 5 gigs for free.
So what's the best strategic advantage to have? 3 choices.
Okay.
Cloud account.
What are you showing us there, Kevin?
So I was showing the multiple login screen is actually nice.
They needed that, actually.
This is the piece that you don't have on the iPad that you need, and you don't have on the other tablets or any of the Android devices. Which is, we can all log in with our Google accounts. It pops up and turns into our machine, and then we log them out and they go away again. And so it becomes, as a sort of family lying around computing device, it's actually really handy for that.
Do you think that web apps, though, compete with standalone apps? Do you really think people...
Yeah, well, it depends what you do, yeah. For a lot of what I do, I'm reading stuff on the web. I'm writing documents in Google Docs. I'm doing Gmail. I bought into that when I joined the company, and I've stuck with it. And it's the same with Salesforce. Ours is very web-based as well, so you can run a lot of your stuff on there. I found for my wife, I let her log in, try it out, and she was like, "Yeah, I could use this. I mostly surf the web, do email."
I think my wife would like it too. It does what she needs to do.
Exactly. I mean, if you want to write code, it's not the machine you want.
If you want to edit video, it's not the one.
If you want to edit video, it's not the machine you want.
Anything more serious.
It runs Hangout quite nicely. That works on it pretty well.
Really?
Yeah.
I think education and companies, it makes a great deal of sense.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it. I'm sorry, we interrupted you, Jeff, on the Amazon cloud.
Oh, never mind. I was just going to go off on that.
I think the advantage Amazon has over Google is that they sell crap. I mean, Google, so it makes sense that if I buy a song and it's now instantly in my cloud, that's nice.
Yes.
I wish I could.
What I was going to ask was this: what's the bigger advantage strategically? Having a cloud account with somebody, owning the browser, or owning the hardware?
Oh, well, that's germane to our Chrome discussion.
Yes.
I think, the point of the browser, you don't need to own it. So I think owning the browser is. It's necessary to have browser competition, which is why they built Chrome. But they don't have to own the browser to make it magic and special. I think that's the thing that there's some little things that this does nicely, where the GChat is integrated to the system, so it pops up over all the browser windows and bits pieces like that. But there's nothing special that anyone else couldn't have done too. And the point is that the browsers are standard enough now that you can write stuff and it will work across a broad range of devices. You're not focused on one particular browser anymore. I was hacking up on, there was that thing about slope graphs, So last night I've hacked around writing a slope graph generator, and then it runs on my 3 browsers on here. It runs on the Chromebook. It runs on the two tablets. It runs on my son's PC ish. So that was not me not spending lots of time trying to test it. It was just like, I'll just use this library, write some code that draws some graphics, puts it up on the screen using SVG, and it actually works across quite a broad range of different devices. And that's that is the promise of the web platform. So owning the browser isn't something that you need to do as a corporation, but it's a valuable thing as a sort of infrastructure services. There's a reason Apple had to build a browser, because they weren't relying on someone else for that, and it was similar for Google to do that. But now those two have done that. We've got 4 competing ones. You can choose one and bundle it. You don't need to. You don't need to make that investment again. Amazon doesn't need to make that investment again, and it's kind of the same with Android.
Facebook?
And Facebook doesn't need to make that investment again. They run across browsers that they've got a nice choice of open source ones that they could do. They could customize one perhaps, but they don't really need to. And if you look at the way they've built the apps, they are relying more on the browser than on native apps. Certainly for iPad and even for Android.
So to answer your question, though, I think really none of them are sufficient. I mean, it probably is better if I had to pick one of the 3 to own the cloud. But what you really want to own is you want to own the ecosystem, the chain. You want to own which Amazon's in very good position to do. You buy it from Amazon. It's stored on the cloud on Amazon. It sits on your Amazon tablet, but it also works with any other device. That's really, I think, isn't that where you want to be if you had a choice?
I think Amazon is the sleeper in all this. We keep talking about...
Well, but it's Amazon versus Apple. I mean, really, that's what it's going to be. Yeah. And the problem with Apple is it's not open. So if you're in the Amazon ecosystem, I mean the Apple ecosystem, you're in that's it. There's your choice. You don't have nothing else you can do. But Amazon, it's kind of, you can use this, but it'll work with other things.
Yeah, I mean Amazon is not dogmatic about this.
They're not dogmatic.
They've got Kindle apps on all the devices I've got here, right?
So I think Amazon's the winner. I mean, I hope Amazon's the winner in that respect. The only advantage to the Apple model is you can create a kind of a unity of experience that Amazon perhaps, it's more complicated perhaps, requires more attention.
I've been going back and forth between the 2 devices so much lately. You know what drives me nutty about the Android tablet, and otherwise I love it, is the correction. The typing correction.
Yeah, they don't have a very good... iPhone has some much better system for that.
It drives me mad on the iPhone. So I like swipe on the Android, and I wish the Android tablet had swipe.
Swipe. Yeah, you're right.
When it comes to keyboards, my little phone.
When it comes to keyboards,
right,
Andrew,
there's a taste thing there as well. This is also like the Mac versus Windows fonts thing.
Well, no. The correction itself.
But he's talking about the selection where you get that little, that little wedge, those wedgies that look like it looks like a vice. I put my text in a vice. You're talking about that thing, right?
That piece?
Yeah, I hate that thing. And Apple's got the magnifying glass, which is so elegant.
Well, but also the words it gives me. If I start typing in a word,
well, that's keyboard specific, right?
A 20-character word that I've typed before, and I can't. If I go back, erase one letter, it changes to a whole other word.
Yeah, but that's Jeff. That's completely keyboard specific. So there's swipe, there's Swift key, there's Nuance has a very nice one called T9. All of them do it differently.
Oh. Yeah.
So you should just try some other keyboards. This is a huge advantage for Android. I mean, I think this is one of.
I don't like swipe, but which one should I use?
I would try, and Amazon offered this for free a few weeks ago, and I really like it. Nuance's T9 keyboard, somewhat like Swift Key. Swift Key has a new one in beta that you might take a look at as well. What do you like? Eileen Rivera hosts our All About Android show. Which keyboard do you use? She likes the Swift Key beta. That's pretty interesting what they're doing there.
I haven't seen that one.
It combines tap and swipe and the recommendations, and it learns from what you use. One of the things that was cool about Swift Key is if you type the same phrases a lot, it will just, all you have to do is hit space, 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 because you type the first letter in the phrase and it goes, yeah, I know what you mean, and you just type
I like
space.
Lee, I like Chipotle, I like
yeah. It's actually, for somebody like me, it's amazing. I must be a very repetitive person. All right, a couple more stories. I got to go. Paul Adams, did you know him when you were at Google?
I didn't know him at Google, but I was very impressed with the presentation he read about that, and I've spoken to him since about that.
So he left Google for Facebook.
Right.
He did
and Google canceled his book.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he's the guy who kind of came up with that circles stuff, left and went to Facebook, and then he wrote a book called Social Circles. and Google is blocking it. Is it that
Yes.
threatening to Google?
I don't know the inside story here, but the version I read of it was that they didn't want him to release this book because it was based on work they hadn't released yet, and they wanted to keep Emerald Sea as it then was undercover.
But that was before Emerald Sea came out.
But that excuse should be gone now. And he said, well, if they're still not answering my calls, and yeah, I guess they're kind of busy, but it's not, it doesn't seem great. He says he's writing another book.
Is it not the case that, and I'm thinking about Sheryl Sandberg here in the New Yorker profile by Ken Auletta, in which one anonymous Googler said she is persona non grata here. We feel that she is using her inside knowledge of Google to give Facebook a leg up. Simple things like Google takes 3 weeks to approve a new employee, so she made sure that Facebook took 2, giving them a little advantage.
Well, that's not inside knowledge of Google. That's just like being slightly more efficient than
that's just smart.
Google's hiring process.
But apparently, now you know better than I, but apparently
page.
she is like, hello, Cheryl. She's not somebody they like much, and I wonder if Paul is in that same boat.
He may have got a bit of that. I mean, they may have felt, they were encouraging him to publish the book, and then he left, and so then they felt it was like their book rather than his. So there may be some of that going on.
You're at Facebook now.
I hope they're bigger than that. They should be really. That's the thing. But part of the stuff he said about not paying attention to the social scientists, I think that rang very true to me, and I think that's something that has got better. And certainly we got a sense of that from the talks you had with Vic and Bradley last week,
right.
That they're actually paying more attention to that stuff and picking up on that now, which is encouraging, because that was a clear problem that I saw when I was there. That it wasn't just that they weren't paying attention to social science, that they didn't actually employ any, or except by accident. They ended up with Yuri Engstrom working there, but that's because they bought his startup, not because they hired him because he understands the sociology of the internet so well.
Right.
And the research
he goes as far as to say Google sees every social problem as having an engineering solution.
Yep. Well, there are engineers. That's what they do. It's an experiment. If you build a company entirely composed of software engineers, that's Google. And to first approximation, there's the large sales organization that Sheryl Sandberg built up when she was there, and is still doing very well. And it is not all engineers, but all the PM people tend to have computer science degrees in Google as well. So it is you've read in the Plex. It's very data driven. It's very measured. And it's not very nuanced on the social science side. It's much. I suppose the closest they've got there would be what's his name, the chief economist. He's the closest thing they've got to.
I was going to say that
How variant.
They may not have any. They may be all engineers, but they do have a guy early on they hired who's an economist.
Yes, but he's an economist, but
he's kind of an engineering. He's kind of a econometrician economist type.
Right. Whereas Zuckerberg, when I interviewed him, he made a point of saying that he majored also in psychology.
Right.
And I say in the book coming out September 26th that Zuckerberg isn't so much an engineer as a social engineer.
Yeah. Well, it's really clear. I mean, you could see that. On the other hand, there is something anodyne about the engineering approach to privacy. It's very clear, and something a little creepy about the social science approach to privacy. It's much more mushy and gushy, and I think that's one of the reasons we trust Google, because they're engineers. Yeah,
well, I gave my talk on the value of publicness, but I really concentrated on privacy this week at Google, and I'm told that some of the, and it was a great group and funny and wonderful and had a great time, but I'm told that a few of the people who do things like encryption thought that I was an edge case. Because we all know that. They do. Yes, I am.
Everybody, I have this problem, by the way, on all the Twitch shows where we just assume we're like real people.
Right. But that's Google's problem too. Is
right.
Their presumption is that they are typical, and that was the thing that blew up in their faces with Buzz, because they're not. They're very anomalous.
And it's, by the way, why I like a lot of what they do.
Right. Of course, they're building things that
we build for the edge case.
We're rich, educated, geeky people living in Silicon Valley. We're exactly who they're building stuff for.
But
and their challenge is to build it for poor people in the third world as well. And that's the piece that they're not thinking about as clearly.
But the third people in the poor world should build their own. I mean, the poor people in the third world should build their own damn stuff. We're scratching our itch. Damn it.
Well, that's
tell them to get their own computers.
This is where the open source thing does work.
Watch out.
What's happened with Android is that China and India are using that to build their own view of how these things should behave rather than Google's one. So that that piece is valid in that if you build this stuff in a way that other people can remix and rebuild it, they will do interesting stuff with it. And that's one of the pieces that's one of the narrative threads this week that's made me slightly nervous was the combination of no longer indexing Twitter. The author stuff was like, we'll do the author stuff, but you can only route it through a Google profile. You can't use an H card or a V card or something on your own site. We'll only verify it if you connect it to our site. And there's a certain sense of we want to put ourselves in the middle again, which is not the open web culture that Google built itself on. So there's I think that their heart's still in the right place.
Where it came from,
we have to wait and see.
We don't know on live search who scotched the deal.
Yes.
Could it come from Twitter?
It could, yeah. Or it could be one of these things where like when Google and Facebook are trying to get something done, and they don't neither trust each other enough to sit down and have a sensible negotiation about it.
All right, we got to run. I wish we didn't have to. This is so much fun, and there's so many other things we could talk about. Our congratulations to the winners of the first Google Science Fair. And 15 finalists yesterday at Google's headquarters. They streamed it, by the way, which is very cool on YouTube Live. And the winners are, in fact, by the way, all girls. Lauren Hodge in the 13 to 14 age group. She studied the effect of different marinads on the level of carcinogens in grilled chicken. Sorry, that's just a great subject. Naomi Shah in the 15 to 16 age group, she endeavored to prove that making changes in indoor environments that improve air quality can reduce people's reliance on asthma medications. Interesting. These are a little, they're very social. It's good.
Yeah.
And Shri Bose in the 17 to 18-year-old group, she discovered a way to improve ovarian cancer treatment for patients when they built up a resistance to chemotherapy drugs.
Jesus.
Cool. Smart women. And I think this is great that the first 3 winners of the Google Science Fair should be women, and so much for all the people who say, where are all the women in science and engineering?
Well, I was there during the science fair, and I'll tell you where they went during it. All the families were in the Google swag shop like crazy.
I also like it that the trophies that the 3 girls won are Lego, made out of Lego.
That is so cool. That's so cool.
All right, that wraps it up. Let's get our. We're gonna get our. I don't know if Gina normally does a tip of the week. Do you want to do a tip, Kevin Marks? I don't know if we asked you to do that. Here's a tip.
It could be a grammar tip, Kevin. A literature tip.
Hey, actually, let me ask you that. Okay, The Graduate. You rewrite it for 2011. And Ben Braddock, he just got out of college, doesn't know what to do with his life. The guy, friend of the family, comes and pulls him over and says, Ben, I want to tell you one thing. One word. Now, in 1960, what was it, 67, it was plastic. And actually, that was probably right. What would you say the word would be if you were talking to a recent college graduate? The one word, Kevin Marks says, one word, kid. Social? Mobile?
Algorithms?
Green energy?
Green's good.
Yeah, green's good. Yeah.
Green energy. Waffles.
Batteries.
Our chat room. Bacon. I think they're hungry. It must be lunchtime.
It's after lunch.
Notice chat room, none of us said burrito.
Burrito. Chipotle.
Well, they're throwing all our words back at us. The chat room says Jürgen Habermas.
Habermas. I got one word for you, kid. Habermas. Our number of the week, Jeff Jarvis.
Well, it's kind of a stretch. Let's see. The LA Times says that they looked at searches on Google as an indication of the economy and found that interest in investing in stocks is continues to go down, while the word saving gets a lot more requests. And that's a fairly obvious thing, and it's just a zeitgeisty thing. But it occurs to me lately that the guys who made a hedge fund out of Twitter, this kind of data that really shows what we think as a people and indicates where we're going as a country, the more public that can be, the better that can be for all of us, the more that becomes open knowledge that we know. So I would just say to the likes of Google and Facebook and Twitter, this kind of data that you have in an aggregate form is ours. We made it.
Yeah.
Give it to us.
It's ours. Google did. I have a tool, and it's something I should have done a long time ago, and it's something that many of you will be, oh, of course, obvious, duh. For the longest time, you know, I have a T-Mobile G2X, and I've been waiting. I'm on Froyo. I've been waiting. Just give me gingerbread. I just want some gingerbread, and supposedly it's in the offing, and it has been for months. If you're stuck with a phone, an Android phone that is not being updated, may I highly recommend the Cyanogen mod. It was easy as pie to root this phone. It's a one-click root. You do have to connect it via USB, and there's a lot of button pushing and stuff. But once I put Cyanogen mod on here, CM7, release candidate 1 for this phone is now out, it suddenly stopped rebooting. It stopped crashing. It got fast. It got reliable. It made a huge difference. He is doing amazing stuff. In fact, let's get Cyanogen on if we can, because I'd love to get him on the show. He's taking the open source Android code, cleaning it up, polishing it with a large team, I'm sure, of volunteers, and making really excellent ROMs to make this completely legal, which it is. In fact, HTC just announced they're going to stop blocking root exploits, that they're going to support this. And Google says it's okay as long as you don't include the proprietary Google apps, which he doesn't. They're separate downloads that you put on here. Of course, you get them all, but they're separate downloads. He's just done a wonderful job of making a more stable operating system than the stock operating system for many of these handset companies. Best way to find out if your phone is, or how to root your phone, and if there's a CM7 for your phone, is to go to xda-developers.com and search in the device database, or just go to the forums and search for the phone model that you have. There are so many nice guys in there who will help you, and gals, who will help you unlock, upgrade, and modify your phone. Highly recommended. If you've been afraid of doing this, don't be. I was kind of stunned at how easy it was. And more importantly, because I had bad experiences jailbreaking the iPhone, what a great result I got. This thing is much more reliable.
Yeah. Hey, Leo?
Yes, sir.
Go to Plus right now.
Oh, dear.
I think we had our first, at least I can't get to it. I think we have our first Plus crash.
Is Plus down?
Mine is.
Well, I have Plus as the home button on my no, it's just you.
Okay.
Look for me.
And of course, I've got animated panda gifs right there on the front page. I spoke too soon. But, you know, that's cute. I don't mind starting my day with that.
The 20th time, you're going to get sick of those little
ones. No. Who gets sick of pandas falling in the snow? Nobody. They're cute. They're cuddly. And that's it for This Week in Google. Thank you, Jeff Jarvis, for joining us, even though you suffer from jet lag. Jeff, of course, is the blogger at buzzmachine.com, the professor of journalism at the City University of New York. He's at Jeff Jarvis on Twitter, plus Jeff Jarvis on Google+, and his new book is imminent. September 26th. Public Parts. Simon & Schuster. Look for it. His current book, What Would Google Do?, is still a great read. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. We appreciate it. And filling in for Gina Trapani, who is in China, watching pandas go down slides into the snow, I might add. Kevin Marks, thank you so much for being here. Kevin is now at Salesforce.com. Chatter.com is the place to go to find out more about what he's working on there. And of course,
also wanted to mention TumbleVision.tv.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, you have a wonderful podcast.
Show. And we've got Paul Adams coming up on that in a couple of weeks. I think it's maybe 3 weeks. We've also got a bunch of other interesting people talking about this social stuff there. So if you're interested in the Plus and the social side of things, that's very much on topic. Yes,
let me plug this. Heather and Deborah and you are just great. It's a wonderful show, which we had on the TWiT network for a while, and I'm glad that you've kept it going. It's really fantastic.
We're also thinking about maybe we could use Hangouts as the way of doing video again, because the challenge is we can't afford as much gear as you can, but that there may be a way to browse that.
You might be able to get completely do a end around.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
Thank you, Kevin, for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff Jarvis. Thank you all for joining us. We record Twig every Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv. That's 2000 UTC if you want to join us. If you can't watch live, don't worry. You can download audio and video of the shows very easily from twit.tv/twig or your favorite podcast aggregator. I use Google Listen. You could use iTunes. It's everywhere you want to be, including on the Roku box and many other places. Thanks for being here. Don't forget, we are going to the new studio. We are not far off, just less than 2 weeks away from our new studio. 2 weeks hence, this show will be from the new studio with a brand new look. The costs are tremendous.
Buy your bricks.
Buy
I
more.
bought one,
Even if you've already bought a brick, buy another. Bricks.twit.tv. No, it's not tax deductible. No, I'm not a charity. Yes, I do need your money. It helps us build a better show. And we actually, I don't need to beg. I really appreciate anybody who's contributed. No need to. These shows are free and remain free, but it is very helpful. And I have to say, we've sold over 1,000 bricks. The Wall of Honor is starting to look really, really cool in the new studio, and I hope you come visit it. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time on Twig.